All right, hello. This is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative take about the world around me. All right, so since the holidays are coming up, special time is the great time to think about your health and well-being. Matcha can really get you on the right track with that. And as I say, it's just really, especially in the climate in which we're living in, and with connecting with others and everything, it's really special that there's businesses that care about the customers, and they have great customer service, and this a wonderful company, great people working there, and they really take the time and produce quality work. And the matchas, the matcha that I chose was particularly with the cacao banana. It's naturally fortifying, and you can tell that it's no additives in it. It's just pure, clean ingredients, and that's just fundamental for your health. And it's just so much, processed stuff out there. And it's just nice to know that that's a company that's really getting that right. So you feel the same way that I do? Go right ahead and go shop Matcha. And I also, on top of that, I have a gift for you all. You get 15% off of your purchase. And all you got to do is use the promo code, The Harboring, when checking out. It is added on automatically, but if you want to type that in manually, use the promo code The Harboring. I appreciate all you listeners out there. Thank you so much. All right, so some of the audio platforms that I'm on Speaker, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Deezer, just to name a few. And I can't stress enough, feedback is immensely important. And, with the holiday seasons coming up, feel free to weigh in on the topics that I'm talking about for this coming 2 months going on here, particularly. And then, if you have stories you would like to share, you'd like to make comments on for Thanksgiving, Christmas, feel free to reach out to me. And then on top of that, I will read those comments and talk about them and give my thoughts too. All right, so what we're going to talk about in this episode is the implement of how powerful advertisement has become and has shaped the imagery and the thought process about Thanksgiving. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to jump in and give my thoughts about everything. And then I'm going to expand on my thoughts with the facts. So, now, I'm a millennial. And so that means that I grew up in the time of the 90s. I was fortunate enough to grow up in the 90s. Good or bad, that's one of those things here. But anyway, that was a pivotal time where advertisement was at its finest. From my point of view here. So what I mean by this is advertisers actually cared about implementing and showcasing visuals in order to really get people to stop and think and watch and look about certain products. Now, this expanded, it really became its own in the 80s when you have those Campbell soup commercials, particularly the Campbell soup commercial. I believe this was from the 80s here, where you have the little boy. Well, you see a snowman, and you have a little boy. It turns into a little boy because that where you put two and two together. They trust that the audience is smart enough to do that, to understand that, it's so cold outside, and then Campbell soup can really warm you up. And then what's more wholesome than having a little boy feel warm from the chill of winter than sitting down and have a nice Campbell soup to help that. Now you transition to the 90s, it, amplify that to the nth degree, to the fact that advertisers were doing this avant-garde spin on products, even though it was targeted for a mass appeal of audiences, even with the aspects of children. And that was even more apparent in the aspects of toys and beverages and breakfast food. Apple Jacks was one of the proprietors of doing that, where they presented the aspects of cartoon images in a different way in promoting the product. Now, the aspects of something that is really pivotal to the holiday season, especially with cooking and Thanksgiving, is mainly associated with the aspects of food and cooking and well-being with fine cooking. I remember there was a advertisement that was this whole thing where, from what I'm recalling this back, and I'll stretch more onto this particular episode as this month wraps up, and I'll give more details about it here. So anyhow, you have this imagery about this aspects of wanting to be your best, especially for your family. And this, young woman, in the realm of saying, keeping up with the appearances that I'm still domestic, right? But she really doesn't have the aptitude to, put her best foot forward when it comes to cooking. And so, in order to appear as if she knows how to cook well, but actually was something that was store-bought, she puts flour on her face, and she's like, oh, halal, not halal, oh, halal, hopeful in the Spanish context, hopeful, as, voila, is what I was actually meaning to say. But she's like, voila, look at me, I'm a master chef, when in actuality, we know she's not. Now, that is the impact and the power that advertising can really get right when they want to do it well. The hook and the storyline can really capture the essence of social awareness about something. And this is even more apparent when you think about the aspects of Thanksgiving. Because, again, things don't come out of a vacuum. They come from something, most of the time here. And then the quintessential imagery of what ultimately comes to mind, to the conscious about Thanksgiving, most of this stuff is deemed from advertisement. And so that's I think advertising is one of the, is a more digestible means of really implementing the the sort of important markers of the way as in history and the sort of time the way civilization is going or has gone, has developed, and so forth, with the details about that. All right, so with all this said here, I am going to get into the myths about the facts of how advertising has implemented the imagery of Thanksgiving. Here we go. Okay, so of course, sources will be provided for you in this episode. Okay, so let's get right down to the nitty gritty here. Okay. So. Okay. All right. So. All right. Well, source there is this. I think this is a one really good source to really break things down in a more cultivated way, and it's more factual instead of something that is spewed out from an AI generated response about the mass of something. All right, so it's about the counter, and it's entitled "How Advertising Shaped Thanksgiving as We Know It." Now, this was originally written in 2018 by Dr. Samantha Cross. So it says the broad appeal of Thanksgiving. Let's start out with that. It says, again, as I mentioned on Monday, about Sarah Joseph Hale. So she was the editor of Good Lady's book. This was the first advocate for Thanksgiving as a national holiday in 1846. She argued that it would unify the country. So in the research that they conducted on the counter says that they have were able to show that Hale's vision for this holiday has been largely fulfilled. So it includes all people and traditions, and it has been Thanksgiving hallmark of quality. And so, as was stated about this imagery, implementing these aspects of coming together, communal coming together, because when, at the time, this Sarah Joseph Hale was around and implementing the importance here of Thanksgiving and coming together. Civil War was breaking out. And it was a lot of really severe division between the country to where, people were talk about polarized. They were just at the midst of, at their wits' end to, succeeding to exiting from the Union to where they, want to break apart and be their own nation within the state, to where people just really couldn't get that together. And she saw the writing on the wall with that, and she said, instead of me being a person to make things even worse, why don't I implement the aspects of communal bonding? Because that is, when you think about it, that really, at its best, it really is what is very fundamental in the aspects of a civilization progressing towards the better. Because when you get that right with understanding and putting that in good faith with understanding that we as people need to come together and be in a communal consensus of well wishes and good tidings, really, here, then we can in itself escape the division of being isolated from one another, being weary of one another, fearful of one another, because of that wanting to, share common ground with and understand each other. And then what better way to do that is than to, give and eat and be a part of the tradition of a good meal. Because, eating good food and coming together in that way is a really good way, is a more It's a more cohesive way to break the ice and the division between people, because most people are elated when it comes to the aspects of food, and they feel a certain way. It feels, and then most of the time that's joy, and that's really clever to get that she understood that. All right, so a reason for this broad appeal is that it lacks any association with the institutionalized religion. As one interviewee told them, there's no other purpose than to sit down with your family and be thankful. And after interviewing a range of people, from those born in the U.S. who get immigrants from countries like South Africa, Australia, and China, it became obvious that the principles and rituals that they embraced during the holiday were universal no matter the culture: family, food, and gratitude. But as a relatively new holiday, one not tied to a religious or a patriotic tradition, was a shared understanding of the celebration, and the meal was crucial to ensuring its long-term survival. So while there might be subtle variations of the Thanksgiving meal, it is the long-standing, or the cornerstone of the holiday. What is the magnet that brings people together. So today, familiar items constitute the meal, which is, you get the staples of turkey, cranberry sauce, stuffing, gravy, as it be alcohol, salad, apple pie, and pumpkin pie. Many tend to have different versions of this, depending on the culture. But why these items and not others? What makes turkey, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie so special? So many colleagues says that it's in Good Housekeeping magazine to find this out. So marketing a ritual. So starting with Thanksgiving, or the early champion, which was Sarah Joseph Hale, the history of Thanksgiving is rooted in marketing. So marketers not only help create many of the rituals and cultural myths associated with Thanksgiving meal, but they also legitimize and maintain them. So by the 1920s, turkey had become the only meat advertised. So early ads would focus on how to prepare and present the perfect bird, promoting brand tools like roasters, range, pop-up thermometers, and oven cooking bags. Initially, the Thanksgiving turkey competed with other meats like duck, chicken, goose for the centerpiece of the Thanksgiving table. Iconic Swift premiere turkey ads focused on the aspects of the meal by featuring families at prayer, giving thanks before the meal begins. And this is associated, and then, as I said, with Norman Rockwell, to add on to that, he really got the aspect right about this, the wholesomeness of Americana, of it's deep rooted in family and religion, and coming together, and that's small town humbleness, that living in a small town gives you. Okay, so early ads for the Edenmore Cranberry Company positioned their whole cranberries as a perfect complement to any and all Thanksgiving meat dishes. This brand dominated into the 1930s when another brand, Ocean Spray, entered with its canned gelatin cranberry sauce. So, considered by many to be the quintessential Thanksgiving dessert, pumpkin pie also wasn't presented at the first Thanksgiving meal. The Pilgrims lacked the butter, wheat flour, and sugar to make the pastry. Nevertheless, beginning as early as 1925, a range of brands from, for example, Borden's, Snowdrift, Miss Smith's, and Libby's have competed fiercely to connect pumpkin pie to the season. So the holiday, which is, the staple of the holiday meal. It's a rivalry that continues to this day. As for both brands, implement the cranberry sauce as has been around since the first Thanksgiving dinner, which is highly unlikely. However, the brand positioning war successfully, the war in between, these companies here. Was war successful promoted by cranberry sauce was a natural condiment for the Thanksgiving turkey. So Ocean Spray would triumph and to this day promotes whole cranberries and canned gelatin. So the role of the consumer. Not every product category or brand succeeded in becoming a core part of the Thanksgiving meal. But those early 20th century ads for turkey clearly resonated with people. So today, nearly 88% of the U.S. household have turkey on Thanksgiving, and approximately 20% of the turkeys consumed in any given year are consumed at Thanksgiving. Now, this is a testament to the enduring influence of marketing on the holiday. So for brands, of course, Butterball here, formerly Swift Premium, Thanksgiving is a big business. So a Welch ad from the 1960s implies that the first Thanksgiving meal included juice made from grapes. So in 1928, Diamond marketed their walnuts as an accessory to dress up Thanksgiving dishes. Despite boisterous ad campaigns, a few associate Welch's grape juice or Diamond walnuts with Thanksgiving today. So they end by saying this. Well, she ends by saying this here. She says, whether you're a turkey fan or not, prefer apple to pumpkin pie, enjoy canned gelatin over whole cranberry sauce, by celebrating Thanksgiving, you play a role as well. Marketers may have shaped many of the rituals of the holiday, but all Americans from all backgrounds certainly do their part to maintain them. So, I'm going to end on this here. Okay, so, I think this is quite interesting because this in itself is rooted into how things form and shape and make sense to what stays and what goes when we think about the aspects of a holiday. And case in point, Thanksgiving in itself is more, for the most part, something that's unified to certain people, particularly to the U.S. And, there's an assortment of other cultures that share the same values, but it's associated with different means of celebration. That most people can, come together and feel comfortable with doing so without having the, aspect is which was mentioned with the aspect of something that is bound by something else, which religion in itself. I can see that point argued about the aspects that can be something rooted in a tradition of trying to get people to come together because of especially at that time, when the Civil War was coming about, people were also on top of that trying to find means and ways of thinking about their religion or not being religious in their own right, because that was what the founding fathers and the American foundation of being American. You have the right to think and choose the way you want to when it comes to certain aspects of religion and so forth. But at the heart of the matter here, Thanksgiving is really simple because it ties to the point again about the fundamental aspects of how noble that is and how that changes the psychological map or thought process about about yourself and your disposition with your fellow man or woman, girl, boy, have you. You feel more connected because Thanksgiving gives that opportunity to just simply give thanks for what you have, give thanks for other people, for sharing and being more in tune with one another than just feeling like you're separated. And that's really something to digest on. Now, feel free to reach out to me, and the best way to do so is through email. All right, so this reaches the end. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye-bye for now.